Don't focus on someone's looks. It's easier said than done, isn't it? It's very easy to get distracted and even fixated on something very beautiful, someone very beautiful. God makes beautiful things out of dust. What we have to be careful about is worshiping his creations instead of just appreciating and admiring them. When we start to overdo, overindulge, and pervert the purpose of things, that's when we get into trouble. If you know what it's like to be overwhelmed by someone's beauty, to be stopped in your tracks, to be head over heels for someone, to be totally crushing on someone, go ahead and hit the like button on this video, subscribe to my channel, and let's talk about that today. Speaking of beautiful, hello to all of God's beautiful children watching me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to say hello to the new subscribers. I am at 96 now, and I would really be excited and most grateful if you would subscribe to my channel to get me up to 100 subscribers. I would be so elated. Beauty comes in so many forms, and it is really up to the eye of the beholder. There are some standards of beauty set for us by trends and today's society. There are certain cultural beauty standards. The list goes on and on as far as what is deemed beautiful. We all have our unique versions and opinions about what is beautiful and what is attractive, what looks good. Down here in the South, we have this thing that we say when we do see a particularly handsome or gorgeous man. Lots of us ladies in the South will say, well, he surely is fine. And people handle people's beauty in different ways. We've seen people be deemed as pass out fine, meaning they're so beautiful that people actually faint in their presence. We see that quite a bit with celebrities. It's very easy to be led away with diverse lusts. Particularly for me, in my case, for the narcissist, I was very much led away by his good looks. And it wasn't just his good looks, it was the way he used his good looks. He was quite charming. He was quite alluring. He had these big, beautiful brown eyes, extremely long eyelashes. He had this really deep, beautiful, rich skin tone, a brown, red skin tone. I believe he had Native American ancestry. And so he had this unique, very unique, beautiful skin tone. He was impeccably well dressed. He was a person that knew how to put outfits together and shoes and belts and coordinate. Um, when he got dressed up, he was quite something to look at. And so a lot of that stuff is what we can kind of get led away with. We can kind of, you know, lose our bearing, lose our breath even. And a lot of times we just get so fixated on how someone looks that we don't pay attention to the stuff that's under that. We don't pay attention to the brain and the heart like we should. Sometimes we get super distracted with a person's looks because that's pretty much all you see. you look at them and you just see all this beauty, and then you just kind of get lost in that. I remember being a preteen, very young preteen nerd, hanging out at the library, doing my homework, and researching for different projects and papers. And I remember a very tall, handsome teenager coming over to my library table where I was sitting at. Now, mind you, this was back in the 90s, and we had to make copies of things at the library, so we had to pay for those copies. So I had my probably $2 or $3, maybe even $5 laying on the table next to me. And here comes this athletic teenager plopping down at my table across from me, staring at me with his beautiful teeth. And for some reason, I have a fixation for teeth. And he's showing his teeth, and they're really pretty and beautiful and white and all of these things. And I really don't remember what he said. He may have said, "Hello, how are you doing?" or something like that. But all I'm doing is sitting there looking at beautiful teeth. And all of a sudden, he gets up from the table very fast. And then the library has these big windows, and you can see out of them. So he got up from the table and he left with his group of guys, and they were all laughing, and they went across the street to the corner store. And I'm wondering to myself, what's so funny all of a sudden? And then I look down at the table, and all of my copy money is gone. And I guess that's what happens when you get distracted by beauty sometimes. You miss the details and you get swindled. And that's what happened to me later on in my life. I got swindled by a whole narcissist because of that handsomeness and that charm. So let's talk about some of the things that causes us to put people's looks and their beauty on some type of pedestal. So let's start with our fixations. All of us have things that we are pretty much attracted to, things that we like, things that we kind of fixate on for whatever reason. Some people like beautiful eyes. Some people like, people's, lips. Some people like noses. Some people like toes. Some people like backsides. Some people like to stare at people's Adam's apple. I'm guilty of that. Some people are fixated on arms and hands. I mean, the list goes on and on of the type of things that you can find attractive, or things that catch your eye, things that you can be fixated on. Those things, if you're not careful, can cause you to put a person on a pedestal, and you don't want that pedestal to be anywhere near where you have God. You cannot worship things such as that. You have to put things in their perspective and put them in their proper place. Another thing that causes us to put people's beauty on a pedestal or just over obsess about people's beauty is people showing off their beauty points. People who show off their different body parts, people who, get on the camera and they're all oiled up in certain places. Okay. People who are exposing a lot of skin, people who are moving and shaking their body parts and assets and all the things. People that are very showy. And in today's world of social media, you'll have lots of that, people's body parts on full display, so it has a tendency to make people pedestalize how someone looks, pedestalize how, their body is. It's a real thing here. It's quite epidemic here. in today's society. Another thing that has us to put people's looks and their image and everything on pedestals is people that are pretty much tempters and they excite lust. So not only do they excite lust, with the things that they show you, but they also incite lust by the way that they act. Some people are quite flirty. Some people are quite overt, in trying to be seductive and things like that. So that is another thing that causes people to put people on pedestals as far as their image and the way that they look. Lots of people seduce other people by their actual behavior in combination with their looks, and sometimes they can do it without having the looks per se. They just use their behavior and certain tactics to incite lust or to have you put them on a pedestal because they have perfected it as a craft or a skill. The things that we are attracted to can be very subtle or they can be very out in the open. It just depends on the individual. You can be looking at someone very beautiful, someone very handsome, and they can be a dressed up, messed up devil. Looks can be very deceiving. Just because someone is handsome or pretty on the outside, it doesn't mean that that's how their insides match. You know, they can be very good looking on the outside, but they don't look so great on the inside. They can have this beautifully clean image and have a dirty heart. Hence the narcissist. The narcissist was an impeccable dresser. He was a clean cut guy. That was my supposed type. I wanted a guy with a clean image. He had that, but it didn't match who he was on the inside. He was a total monster to me. Have you ever been so attracted to someone or you thought that they were just so beautiful that it started to affect you physically? Did you get nervous in their presence? Did you start to hyperventilate, have a really fast heartbeat? That has happened to me before. Which brings me to my next point about another thing that has us put people on a pedestal as far as how they look, worship them and things like that, is the fact that we think that they are out of our league. Sometimes we can feel like people are just so beautiful that, they can only be with other beautiful people that look exactly like them. Society does a lot of that. You have to match, models have to be with other models, you know, celebrities have to be with other celebrities, you know, people feel like if you're not looking a certain way, then you can't be with someone else who looks a certain way. This happens quite a bit in our society today. But it's all a matter of who's judging the level of attractiveness. And again, it's very subjective. Just because the world doesn't think that someone is beautiful doesn't mean that they're not beautiful. We're all fearfully and wonderfully made. Each of us have our own level and our own type of beauty. Which brings me to my next point of another thing that has us to put people on a pedestal about the way that they look is our quote unquote type. Now, this particularly hits home for me because For me, I feel like, and I have felt like pretty much all my life, because I am plus size, that I'm not going to be a lot of people's type. And it has affected my quote unquote type as well. I've always felt like I liked guys, what we say in the South, guys with meat on their bones, particularly because I felt like those guys would be more accepting of me as they also would be considered plus size. So in my mind, I've always felt like, well, that is my type because that's who's going to accept me. And so as you get older and you start to process things and you start to think about things and you start to have more experiences and you realize sometimes you don't even know what you like until you actually see it. Sometimes you have no idea what your type is until it walks in front of you. I had no idea that I would ever really think that someone very slender and lean would be pass out fine. But that is the case. It can be like that. You can be attracted to someone outside your normal typical type. So you have to keep an open mind that beauty comes in all packages. And I still have to work on myself and realize that, someone of a slender statue can find me attractive with my plus size self. It is possible, it can happen. So I'm learning to be more open minded and less hard on myself. There's lots of stereotypes out there that we have to get rid of when it comes to someone's looks or people's fixations or what they deem as attractive. There is this misconception out there that only guys or men look at backsides. I mean, some of us women, especially in the South, we observe men's backsides. It happens. The thing is, we have to be careful with people's looks. You know, that could be used as a tool from the enemy to deceive you or to rope you in, to excite lust. And it's like the serpent when they lie in wait. They use charm to rope you in and then they attack you. And that's the thing about looks. Looks can be used as charm to pull you in, to pull you closer. And then when you get close, that serpent is going to strike you and attack you and try to destroy you. Another thing that we can't allow people to do to us as far as their looks is intimidate us. It can't be to the point to where someone is just so gorgeous or beautiful to you that you can't even bear to look at them and look at them in the face. That is one of the things that I struggle with. It's like that feeling like you're not good enough or you're not equal enough. You're not up to par. I don't want it to be a point to where I see someone very beautiful, a guy that's very beautiful, a man, a gentleman that's very beautiful and handsome, or whatever the case. And if he looks in my direction, I'm looking the other way because I feel like, oh, I don't have any Grey Poupon. So I'm not worthy of looking at him or I'm not worthy of being in his presence. That is when it gets to be a problem. That is when you have someone's looks on too high of a pedestal. And then that's where it crosses the line into idolatry. 1 John chapter 2, verse 16 and 17. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but it is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. So we know that lust is sin, and the wages of sin is death. So we have to be very careful with the things that excite lust, because lust can lead us on a downward spiral towards damnation. The spirit of Jezebel is very charming and very deceptive, and will encourage you to practice fornication and idolatry. Exodus chapter 20, verses 3 through 5. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Now, we cannot serve two masters. We either love one and hate the other. So we can't worship God and then turn around and worship people because of the way that they look. We have to put people in the place that they go, and we have to put God as number one. And that is a lesson that we need to keep with us daily. We need to think about it every time this world attempts to incite lust in you, attempt to get you to worship a person because of the way that they look. We have to remember God's commandment. We have to remember that God is first place. He will share his throne and his position with no one. Here is God reminding us that looks are not important. 1 Samuel 16 and verse number 7. But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. That is a very valuable lesson for us to learn, is the outside. It's not really that important. It's what's on the inside that matters. That should be our primary focus, is to look deeper than the surface. What's on that surface is definitely going to change. There's only so many muscles that can be built. There's only so much makeup we can wear. There's only so many different hairstyles. There's only so many nice clothes we can wear. But what about those qualities that lie within us? The quality of our heart, the quality of our soul, our character traits, the way that we treat people, our attitudes, all the things that you can't see, all the things that don't have a face. Those are what's important. There is a time and a place for everything under the sun. And it's okay to admire the creation that God has made. But there's a way that we admire that. There's a way that we appreciate that. When you get married, that is the safety of your covenant and your contract with that one person. It's okay for you to hold that person's looks as something to be admired in your marriage. You can use that to honor God. You can be thankful and grateful to God for the good gift that He has given you in a husband or a wife. Use your marriage to honor God. Use your marriage to be a testament to the marvelous light.